Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and it's Women's History Month, and I'm here today to talk to you about The Little Mermaid, the 2023 live-action Disney adaptation that is based on the animated movie of the 1989. So this movie had a lot of controversy, and it's the only so far live action Disney adaptation that hasn't hit a billion. Most recently with Aladdin and The Lion King, they hit like a billion. This one was only able to hit a million. It had a budget of 240 million and was only able to make 564 million. And so this movie stumbled in a major way, and I will get into that much later as to why it did. And for the most part, when it comes to this movie, this is an all right movie. Like, it's a really good movie. It's pretty all right. But, I'm not a fan of live action Disney adaptations and stuff. Like, I've said this before in the past, well, actually last year. I was never a fan of the animated movie that this is based on. I've never liked The Little Mermaid. I never liked none of the sequels. The only Little Mermaid project I ever liked was the animated series. And the animated series is really good. It lasted for 3 seasons. I talked about that. Go watch that. But in terms of the animated movie, I've just never been like a fan. And it was mostly because of Ursula. She scared the piss out of me growing up. But I just never liked mermaids in general. So I just never liked the original. So going into this, I'm not like I wasn't gonna have anything like my expectations weren't gonna be low or whatever like it was with The Lion King and Aladdin. I love The Lion King and Aladdin. That's why I was very critical of those movies and stuff like that, because it really pissed me off when they did certain things in Aladdin and The Lion King, especially the realistic faces and everything. So with those projects, I actually had a passion for it because, I was a huge fan of the animated movie and stuff like that. But with The Little Mermaid, I was never a fan of the older stuff. So, I could go in this with new eyes and stuff like that. And, there are some good things they did with this movie, and there are some odd choices they made with this movie. Now, this is mostly gonna be just my thoughts on it, things I like, things I did not like, and stuff like that. And sadly, it is quite a shame this movie couldn't hit a billion to shut up all those haters. But it was #1 watched, movie on Disney Plus when it came out in the first week and stuff. And this movie isn't terrible by no means. There are just some questionable decisions that they made. And no, a questionable decision isn't them changing a white mermaid to black. But like I said before, I will get into that controversy at some point in this video. But there are some minor and major changes that they made that just has me scratching my head. It wasn't enough for me to say, oh, this ruined my experience of the movie, but it just made me question why. And you didn't have to go that far because you already made one change that pissed a lot of folks off. So why make all these others, And the movie would have looked completely different because originally Lindsay Lohan wanted to play Ariel. Could you imagine? And if that movie would have flopped in with her in it, I wonder what all those racists would have said then. Because then you would have had your white girl with red hair and the movie would have still made the same amount of money it would have, or less, because let's face it, Lindsay's acting has not been good since the early 2000s, before she torpedoed her career. And originally, Harry Styles was supposed to play the prince, and Lizzo wanted to play Ursula. With all 3 of those people I just named, we dodged not a bullet, but torpedoes. Because Styles and Lizzo, they're music people and they cannot act very well. And as for Lindsay, her acting just hasn't been good since the early 2000s. So I'm glad with the people we got. Melissa McCarthy as Ursula was great. My only problem with her as Ursula, because she sounds great, she looks great. I didn't like the outfit they had her wearing because it was more like a jacket coat type thing. And I would have preferred to see her bare arms like in the animated movie. I also am getting really tired of Disney altering some of their lines or certain things that are controversial. And like the animated movies, like with what was it, Pinocchio? Nobody was drinking and smoking, and that was supposed to be a major plot of the movie. Because how you supposed to get drunk off of root beer? Like, I mean, come on now. And with this one, there's a line that Ursula does that I remember in the original one when she sings, and she's like, shaking and shimmering her, like, her boobs, talking about you got to use your lady assets or something like that. She said, in order to get a man. Yeah, I can understand what kids might be kind of like, what the heck is she talking about, mommy? And the parents gonna be like, oh crap, now I gotta explain this to my child. So I understand that, but still, it's such an iconic line, and it's really cool, and it really, it's just like a really like cool thing that she did back then. It's something they probably should have left in or altered the line or something like that. But I would have preferred her not to wear like that coat thingy, because it's part of her skin, because she's an octopod or something like that. I would have preferred just the bare arms and that corset looking thing that she wore, but they would never have allowed her to wear that, which is quite a shame. And it would have been nicer if she was a little bit bigger and like a little less beautiful, because Ursula is supposed to be ugly and Melissa is a very beautiful woman and she just looked stunning, and I'm just like, she ain't supposed to look stunning. Now my only problem with Melissa's performance is that because she kept using that fake accent throughout the entirety of the movie, like it prevented her from using a lot of her facial expressions, and she constantly kept having the same facial expression and the same tone in her voice, and she couldn't really be expressive either visually or like verbally and stuff because she was using that fake accent. I thought Haley Bailey, or Barry, is it? Did a really good job. Like, I wish her acting was a touch more better because she's known primarily as a singer, and most singers just can't act. But I think she did pretty good with what was given for her. I would have liked just a tad bit more better acting. Now, when it came to her being mute and her doing her facial expressions, she needed to work on her facial expressions because some of them was just kind of flat. Now, there was one that was really good, but I would have liked a little bit more sass and a little bit more expression. Kind of like how deaf actors have a lot of expression. Like, if you ever watched The Walking Dead, there's an actress named Connie. She was in the Eternals movie. She's the black actress with the curly hair. She's deaf, and she has like a range of like facial expressions. But Haley Bailey, or Barry, is not a trained actress. She's a trained singer, and what an amazing, beautiful voice she has. She did those numbers justice, which of course all the hateful little racist white people who was hating on her online talking about she sounds terrible, the voice actress from the original movie sounds much better, blah 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 blah. They looked at every opportunity they could to bash this woman, which, by the way, I might as well get into the racial backlash now since I'm talking about Haley Bailey and everything, or Barry, whatever her last name is. I get her confused with the Storm lady. Okay, so this Little Mermaid is black and not white like in the original movie or like, the book that is based off. Now, when the book was written back in like, I don't know what year it was written in, probably like what, 1940, something like that. And the man who wrote it, he's white. He based it on a white character. That's how it was back in those days. I think it was before the 1940s. Anyway, it was the norm to make like a white person the main lead in a story because they knew white people would not want to hear about a person of color. And in the original movie, just like Disney, they have tons of white characters in their movies. Now, Ariel, home base and all that is the Caribbean. it would have made sense for Ariel to be black. It would have made sense for her sisters and her father to be black. It would have made sense for Prince Eric to be black and everything in the original animated movie, but they did not go that route. But so they tried to correct this and also have some, like, diversity in the movie. So they wanted a black actress to play that of Ariel because they don't have that many black princesses. Tyena's really like the only one and everything in animation. So they wanted to go the black route. This pissed off just about every white person who has hate in their heart and has racism in their heart. You know those people on YouTube, those Phantom Menace people, those toxic people, those anti-woke mob type people, they brutally attacked Haley Bailey in this movie years before the movie ever came out, making millions of videos talking about how this is wrong, this is disrespectful, this is woke, this is pandering, this is this. They use whatever excuse they can to hate and to have YouTube pay their light bill. They're now doing the same thing with Snow White. Snow White is played by a half white, half Latino actress, and they hate her guts. Why? Because Rachel Zegler said that she doesn't particularly like the original Snow White movie. It's outdated. It's whole outdated with the whole woman pining after a man and having the man rescue her, and all it's outdated. All that stuff is like outdated, and it is outdated. True Love's Kiss is outdated. All that crap is outdated. But that was the Disney formula back in the olden days. And so because of that comment, and that's literally all she said, white toxic people attacked the crap out of her, and now they're going after the Snow White movie just like they went after the Little Mermaid movie. If it ain't white, they don't like it. Plain and simple as that. And the crazy thing about this, the main people hating on both Rachel and Haley are old white men. Old white men who are in their 30s, 40s, and 50s with beards and pot bellies. They don't care about Snow White. They don't care about the Little Mermaid. They just want to hate. They just want to rile up their fan base of actual real racist people. And they want YouTube to pay whatever bill they need to be paid. This is how they operate. They review bomb the crap out of She-Hulk. They hate Miss Marvel. They hate Captain Marvel. They hate Brie Larson. They hate Amber Heard. They hate for the sake of hating because they hate diversity. They only want to see white straight men on TV and movies, and that is literally it. Anytime it's something diverse, they go like crazy. If you was to ever Google, not even Google, go to YouTube and just put in The Little Mermaid Sucks, you will see hundreds of millions of videos that are disgusting. The titles are disgusting. They Photoshop her face, the actress face, to look like she's crying or have googly eyes or like just something, like, you know what I'm saying? And the same thing with the Snow White actress. It is criminal what they do, and shame on YouTube for allowing this to happen. And so, because of all this hate and this negativity, people's all like, you need to keep her white and blah, 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 stuff like that. Then you had other people talking about why are they erasing redheads? They always erase redheads with black actresses and blah, 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 stuff like that. Man, but the people who saying that, you don't care about redheads, and you know you don't. You don't even have red hair yourself. So why do you care? You only care because you know being hateful and racist is the new norm. But the sad part is, it's mainly white people doing this crap. And it's making the white race look terrible. And right now, they've been looking terrible for the last 10 years and everything, especially when it comes to politics and when it came to the whole Black Lives Matter thing, for the reason why black people had to march in the streets for Black Lives Matter, and why the term woke got created, and why Hollywood has twisted it around, and why hateful white people have twisted it around even more. And the actress who plays the Little Mermaid in Snow White do not deserve this. They are, I'm not even joking, it is a mob of people just going at them. And yes, there are a couple of people of color that go after them too, because they're trying their best to please the white people and stuff like that, and have YouTube pay their bills as well, because they figured out the system. But it is literally a mob coming after them online, left and right. It is to the point where I saw something I never thought I would see before. People are starting to wise up to these haters and everything, and they are now starting to defend these stars. The studio had to defend her. Random celebrities who are not even part of the movie are defending her. The original voice actress herself, who made a cameo in the movie, had to defend her and everything because they're pissed because of race. And that is the only thing they are pissed about. Because most of these people I told you are men. They don't care about the Little Mermaid. They not gonna really want to watch this movie. So why in the world are they that pissed off? Because they are racist scum. That is why, and that is only why. And yes, that was one of the major factors that did affect this movie in the theaters. It wasn't the only one. I'll get into that as well. But it was one of the major factors that did affect The Little Mermaid going into the theaters and why it could not reach $1 billion and stuff. And it's not just those in America, it's other people like that bald-headed dude with the one accent who's screaming about pronouns and, oh, he got tricked by a transgender woman and all this other crap. They're all over the world. They are all over YouTube. So it spreads to Twitter, and then it spreads to politicians and stuff. It is disgusting. And if you are a level-headed white person who has no hatred in your heart or racism, you need to be ashamed of these YouTubers and stuff. And like I said before, these people are starting to get called out online. They're starting to get called out by celebrities, studios. They're starting to get called out by other YouTubers because people are tired of them ruining stuff. They literally want to ruin anything that has just one diverse person in it because the only thing they want to see is a bunch of white people on screen. And I remember I was watching this one YouTuber. She's black and LGBT. And she's all for, like, blackness and all stuff like that. And she said that she no longer wants to see white characters get race bent to black. I'm not sure she gave an explanation why or not, but I probably understand why she feels that way. See, every time now a white character gets race bent, Jimmy Olsen from the Supergirl show, Iris from the Flash show, the Little Mermaid actress and stuff, they take a pounding online from racist white people. And I mean, the hatred is like enormous. And it's like an everyday thing where they make hundreds of videos on YouTube, where they're on Twitter constantly complaining about it, to where they tweet or comment on the actors talking about, you shouldn't be this and you shouldn't be that, and you're taking our roles from us and stuff like that. And it's like an ongoing hatred battle they have to face online. And that can really mess with a person's psyche. And so she probably feels like, she's tired of seeing these innocent black actors and actresses getting attacked online by racists and stuff. Because it's really hurtful to see. And we saw in the case of the Arrowverse with the dude who played Jimmy Olsen and the actress who played Iris, nobody came to their defense. Nobody. They had to take all that crap, on their own. And it wasn't until many years later, because the Jimmy Olsen dude, he just left the show after a while. And so the Candace lady who played Iris, she stayed, but then, like I said, nobody defended her until towards the end of the series run. That's when all the other stars started to defend her. And it's like, why couldn't you do that from day one? So I understand where this one YouTuber is coming from, but at that same time, you can't give up. You cannot give up and you cannot give in to racism. Because if you're going to give in to racism, then black folks might as well go back to the 1950s, walking down the street with their heads down, low to the ground, because when they pass a white person, you can't look them in the eye. If you're going to give up, you might as well go back to that. So I say continue to have diversity in shows and movies, continue to race bend, because of the simple fact these racist troll people, they don't care if you race bend. They don't care if you come up with your own new creation. If they see a diverse character, they're gonna go on the attack. Because DC Comics was about, was it DC or was it Marvel? It was these two non-binary characters they were gonna create. The girl wore like a blue costume, the guy wore a pink costume, and people were outraged, and they was completely new characters, and still to this day they're complaining about these characters, and I don't even think these characters appeared in the comics because of all the backlash. So because of that, they don't care if you create somebody new or have an old established character and change something about them. They just don't care. As long as they see brown colored skin or like a diverse person on screen, they're gonna complain. Hauer-King, I'm not sure how to say the other part of his name, Hauer-King, who played Eric, I thought he did a really good job. I would have preferred for him to be black only because they are in the Caribbean and it's known for having tons of black people. But I understand they didn't want to piss off the fan base too much, so they still allowed him to be white, so that's cool. He did a really good job acting wise. His singing is not good whatsoever. Thank God he didn't have that many singing lines. However, I thought it was bizarre and weird, the lineage of him in the movie and his royal line. The thing is, he's not a real prince. Now, in the animated movie, he is, in fact, the prince. You know, he's going on to be king. In the movie, for some strange, bizarre reason, they changed that. And I'm just kind of like, why? Why would you change that? Because they changed a lot when it came to this movie to have inclusion. I'm cool with the inclusion. I'm cool with diverse stuff, but not everything has to be changed. Not everything has to be swapped, and not everything has to be included. It is okay to leave some stuff out. Now, what do I mean by this? He is adopted. He's adopted by the queen. The king died a long time ago, but the queen is black. And I'm just kind of like, well, if the queen is black, why in the world didn't you just make Eric black and make it her legit son? Why make him adopted and why make him like white if you're gonna make her black? And if you are gonna make him white, why didn't you make her white? Like, you didn't have to go that far. And not only that, but the queen name is Selena. Selena is a very Latino sounding name. So they gave a black actress a Latino name and they gave her a white son. And the thing is, you don't even find out they're adopted until halfway into the movie towards the end. And I'm just kind of, because that just left me watching the entire movie thinking to myself, how does this black woman have a white son? I could not figure it out. And I'm just kind of like, they didn't have to change that. They could have kept it one way or like the other. But it's because they wanted to include stuff. And speaking of inclusion, Javier Bardem, he played King Triton. I thought his performance could have been a lot better. He's very stiff, and I'm pretty sure I've seen him before. I think he might have been the villain in the third Daniel Craig Bond movie, but I might be mistaken. Now, he is a Spanish actor. And I've said this before like a year ago. I don't understand why King Triton is Spanish if they race bent Ariel to be black. Shouldn't her dad be black? Because she was the first person they race bent. So wouldn't it make sense for her family to be black? But not only is he Spanish, but all of his daughters are basically a different race. They're basically every color of the rainbow from like another country and stuff. You have some who are white, you have some who are black, you have some who are Hispanic, some who are Asian, you have some who are like Scandinavian, you have some that are Jamaican, you have some that are like more African, you have some that are Chinese, Japanese, and I'm just kind of like, this is going a little too far for inclusion because it don't make no sense. But then again, they are magical creatures, or mythical creatures, I should say. Not magical, they're mythical creatures. So I guess a mermaid can have a child that could be a different race. Sure, why not? I can give that a pass. But it still doesn't make any kind of sense. I wish they would have developed his character a little bit more, because like, he hates humans. That's how he always is, so that's fine. Then when it gets to the final battle, they kind of just had him just give up very easily. And as soon as his daughter's life's in a little danger, and I'm like, oh, come on, man, put up a fight. You know what I'm saying? And then, of course, he disappears only to come back. And then all of a sudden, when he sees his daughter is like happy with her human, he decides, all right, we're going to have all the mer people like interact with the humans just like that. And I'm just like, dude, this dude has had hatred in his heart for like tons and tons of years. He just don't get over it like that. It's just a little like, happening too fast. And what's really weird and bizarre, they decided to make Trident and Ursula brother and sister. So an octopus and a mermaid are now related. That don't make any sense. As for the animals, Disney has really got to stop this super realism with their animals. At least this time, like, Sebastian had a little bit of an emotion with his eyes, and so did Scuttle, but Flounder was just so weird looking, man. But Flounder was okay. He wasn't used that much. Sebastian, man, in the animated series and the animated movies, that dude was always my favorite. And so the Big Digs did a really good job for his own interpretation of it. I just wish he would have had a stronger like Cajun, or like a stronger like Jamaican, or like a stronger Caribbean type accent, because that would have made it so much better. Because Sebastian was always my favorite and stuff in the cartoon. But he looks so weird. But his look does get used to. As for Scuttle, I've never liked Scuttle, period, in the animated movie. I was so glad he wasn't in the animated series except for like 2 episodes. But I've never liked that dude. They gender bent him, I guess, to give like, put some more females in the movie and give Ariel an actual female friend. So that's cool. Aquafina did a really good job of being annoying like Scuttle, because I can't stand Scuttle. And I will admit, her little rap song, it was catchy. Like, it grew on me and everything. So I was kind of shaking my head a little bit. But they've got to stop that hyper-realism. Also, what's really sad is that Sebastian in the animated movie is being pursued by that of a chef. In the movie, that's completely omitted in everything. And I'm just kind of like, that sucks. Because the thing about Sebastian is that he serves 2 purposes. To help Ariel out by helping her fall in love with the prince, and his own little adventure of trying to stay alive. And they completely took that from him, which really, really sucks. And so I really hate that they did that. Now, as for Scuttle being a diving bird, that's just weird. Like, I guess they want to give her equal footing to like Ariel and them. But the one interesting thing about Scuttle is that Scuttle was Ariel's most different friend. He was her only connection to the real, like, surface world and everything, whilst everybody else was undersea. So to take that from her and everything in the movie and make her like a diving bird, it just kind of sucks, because, that's Ariel's like only real true guide to like the surface world, other than her popping her head up and, not being allowed to do that. And so with this movie, like I said before, it's beat by beat of basically the animated movie. Personally, for me, I would have added a scene from like the animated series. I would have had Ariel like swim around like a sunken ship and being pursued by that of sharks or the shark men or that stingray man, just something to tie it in and also to show the audience not only is she an adventurer, but she can actually hold her own in a fight, because that will come in very handy towards the end. And so, like, beat by beat is her, collecting stuff, wondering what it is, singing about it, her dad getting pissed and everything. And then, of course, she sees like the boat and she sees Eric. Now, the underwater stuff, they needed bubbles. They needed bubbles. They needed bubbles. At first, when I used to see the trailer, I'm just like, I can't tell the difference between the underwater stuff and the surface stuff. But there is some muckiness and slight blurriness in the underwater stuff, so that does help. But you really sometimes can't tell. So it would have been nice to have like some bubbles or something. Also, like on above the water, sometimes the waterway CGI looked really fake, and that was really odd. But in that, the underwater stuff was really good, really nice. Ariel's new like appearance with like, instead of giving her like, I think, what was it, like coconut shell, not coconut, but like seashell like bra, they gave her like, I don't know, some kind of like tank top thing that blends in with her scaly skin. So, because they didn't want like, oh no, this is too revealing for little kids. But it's still gonna be in the animated movie, and it's still gonna be in the animated stuff, so whatever. But I can understand. But still, you really think kids care? And not only that, but you gotta think about it. Think about when you was a kid and you saw something like that. It's like, whoa, that's the closest thing I get to see to like an actual like body and everything. So kids love seeing crap like that because it's like daring and stuff. So I don't know, whatever. But it's whatever. 'Cause parents complain and stuff like that. And so she rescues like, Eric from the ship. Now, I think they changed it up. I think she actually like helps somebody else out. I think she helps the dog out, or like she does something on the ship, I remember, something like that. Or she pokes her head out a little too much. This is to show like, she's not gonna let somebody like, die or drown or whatever like that. And I don't know, it's just kind of like, this is why I wish they would have had it in the beginning, she being chased by like sharks and fighting her way through, just to show how brave she is and how determined she is and forthgoing she is and everything. So anyway, of course, like she saves the dude, and then they're on like the shore, and he can like barely see her and stuff. Now, in the animated movie, when he can barely see her, I remember that being more luxurious, more like captivating. Even in the Wonder Woman movie, it was more like cool. And here it was just blurry and stuff. Oh, anyway. So, like, basically after that, she comes home, she gets fussed out, and then at some point in time, Ursula talks to her and, makes that deal. Now, here's the thing. They changed her singing thing. Apparently now in these movies, when a mermaid sings, it's more like a siren song. Sirens were these mythological women that will lure, like when the men be out to sea, they would sing their songs and the men would be captivated by them, fall in love with them, and fall to their deaths. Sometimes they would be women, sometimes they would be mermaids and stuff like that. Changing it to a siren song is kind of weird because it's kind of like, well, if Eric was to hear that, then he would automatically just fall in love with Ariel and stuff. And that's not like true love and stuff. And so I would prefer her singing voice to be more just like a regular singing voice. But then here's the thing that they changed once again that just gets me kind of like, why did you do that? So when Ursula makes her deal, basically is not to take away Ariel's voice, so that she can have legs and be with Eric and fall in love with a man and stuff like that. That sacrifice that she makes for that. I forget the deal they made in the new movie. I forget the deal, but it's different. It's no longer her, giving up her voice voluntarily to be all like, look, I want this man, I want him, I'm willing to give up my voice, I'm willing to get some legs and blah blah and stuff like that. To me, that kind of takes it away, because the thing is that was interesting about that cliche thing from back in the day was that she was desperate. She saw this man, she became infatuated. He's on the surface world. She loves the surface world. She is like enthralled in, like, the surface being of him. So for her to make that ultimate sacrifice, to want to give up part of herself just to be with that man, showed how desperate she was and how much she was willing to fall in love. She was willing to give up everything, even her home in the sea. So to take that away, just kind of like, it doesn't ruin her character, but it doesn't show what she is willing to do. Because you got to think about it. She is willing to give up her tail. She is willing to give up her gills. She is willing to give up her family and her underwater world that she's known all her entire life. Her friends, her family, everything. So I wish they would have kept that to show her naivete and just like, her willingness to be with this man, you know? Like, she was willing to sacrifice whatever for true love. So they should have kept that. And so when she goes to the surface world, it isn't Eric that finds her. It's like his servants and everything. And the servants just take her in. They don't care who she is. They're just so loving and caring and this and that. And I guess it's to show kind of like, oh, how like, the queen was when she adopted Eric. But it's not Eric, the one taking her in, or the queen. It's just the servant people. And they all just like, whatever, man. We found this stranger. She's like naked and everything. And like, whatever. We'll just take her in and doll her up and sing a song and like everything else. And that's just kind of weird. It's supposed to be Eric. And, he's supposed to have some type of attraction to her, but not really, because he's too obsessed with this mystery woman that like saved him and stuff. And so throughout the movie, they have to do like the whole kiss thing and they have to bond. And I do like the bond that they have. Like, they have chemistry and it's fun to see them interact. But like I said before, I wish she would have had more expression and everything. Now, one thing I found weird is that there's a scene that is very odd. Her voice is now gone, but then there's a scene where she is singing. It's like she's singing in her head and we can kind of hear her thoughts, but she's not talking. She's just singing in her head, showing that all she likes to do is just sing. And I never got that impression from like the animated movie. That's all she likes to do is just sing. It's perceive that she is the best singer there is, but it's just not like she wants to do it all the time. And for us to hear her singing in her mind is weird, because she's supposed to not have a voice. We're supposed to feel that muteness from her, and we can't. Then there's a scene where it goes pitch black dark and she's imagining she's singing. That robs away from why her voice got taken in the beginning and everything. And this is the only time it happens in the entirety of the movie. And it's very weird and stuff. Why show this small, tiny scene if you're never going to do it again? And so, like, she interacts with, like, the prince and all this other stuff. And there's so many times they're supposed to kiss, but then they don't. And I really like that market scene where they're strolling around the market and we get to see all this Caribbean type stuff with the music and the people and the dancing. And that's how it's supposed to be, you know what I'm saying? And this is why it would have made more sense for her to be black and why Eric should have been black and all this other stuff. That's one of my favorite scenes in the entire movie. And so, of course, Ursula is getting pissy and she turns herself skinny and all that other crap. And, like, she tricks Eric into thinking she is the mystery lady. And only for, like, Ariel to finally, like, convince him, oh, it's me. And then she turns back into, like, a mermaid. And, Ursula is trying to, like, kill everybody. And I don't... Okay, yeah. When they made Ursula like a kaiju and everything really big, that was some terrible CGI. Like, just some really bad CGI. I don't like that Ursula is related to them, the king and like Ariel and all that. Because you think he would have told his family, hey, yo, look, this octopus lady, yeah, she's your aunt and everything. She's really evil. And I have like banished her and everything. None of that gets brought up. So why even reveal that they're related if there's never going to be nothing huge coming from that? And so then, the battle. I'm glad they updated the battle. I've never liked the idea of Prince Eric being the one to destroy Ursula, and this is supposed to be Ariel's like movie. But I don't like how the prince just can barely fight. Like, I wish they still would have had him stab her with the ship. That would have been nice. And then have Ariel use the trident and probably like zap her or something like that. I forget how Ariel exactly defeats her. I think she throws the trident and it goes in her heart or something like that. But it basically destroys her within seconds. I wish they would have shown both the prince and Ariel fighting her off, because that would have been cool. And showing that they have like a real partnership and like, this and that. And of course, Triton just comes back alive out of like nowhere. It don't make no sense. And so then, of course, they get together. She gets her legs, and Triton, all of a sudden, for whatever reason, it's just kind of like, wow, I see the error of my ways and everything. And you was right, and we should embrace the humans. Yeah, that does happen in the animated movie. It's just weird the way it happens in like the live action. And then so in the surprising twist, Ariel and the prince, they have a love of exploration, so they're gonna go and they're just gonna explore. And that would have been great for a sequel if this movie would ever get a sequel. But of course, in the animated sequel, they have a kid. So if they do make another movie, it does make you wonder what it's going to be about, because it's just going to be Ariel and the prince, and they're probably going to go on an adventure, some action, some exploration, but it's not going to have Flounder, it's not going to have Sebastian, it's not going to have Scuzzle. So they're just going to be those two on their own, and it'll just be a regular adventure movie without the animals, and that's no fun, because the animals is was introduced into the Disney movie because they was never in the original novel. And so I don't think this is a bad live action movie. It's just still not my favorite. I just don't like live action Disney adaptation movies and stuff like that. Like I said before, it is a shame this movie could not get $1 billion, but with the racism that the movie, well, not the movie, but just the actress got, and so many changes they made to the source material, I can see why some people were kind of turned off, but I wasn't expecting people to be turned off this much. And because this movie barely made enough overseas, even China didn't save this movie. Now, when it finally was released in Japan, it took a long time for it to get released in Japan. It kind of blew up there, but in other countries, it just fizzled and everything. And it's just it wasn't that bad of an adaptation. It was just changed left and right. They kept changing so much. And the thing is, the original movie, even though I don't like it, it's not it's offensive to where they have to change stuff. I get why they want to change the smoking and the drinking and Pinocchio, because they don't want little kids doing that. But the thing is, they're still gonna see it in the animated movie. And the thing is, that was a pivotal point that showed, hey, this is something kids ain't supposed to do, and they're doing it. And it's just when you change too much, you take away from what made the original the original. You can alter it, but they need to alter it better. They need to alter it in a way that it still feels genuine, you know what I'm saying, and stuff. So this movie does have its problems and its flaws, and they really got to do something about those animals, man, because I don't want to watch that Lion King prequel, because I don't want to see realistic lion faces being dull and bored when they're supposed to have expression and stuff. So this is really a movie that just was riddled with controversy, but for all the wrong reasons. All because a bunch of people wanted to be racist, a bunch of people who don't even care about the Little Mermaid, and they just want YouTube to pay their light bills. Plain and simple as that. And, it's quite a shame that those racists wanted to take away from Haley Bailey. That's her name, Bailey. Because it's like I said before, Taina is like the only black Disney princess, and she was just made a few years ago. They still really don't have an indigenous one other than Pocahontas, the fictional Pocahontas. I don't think they have a Hawaiian one, but I've never seen that one movie, Moana or something like that, with The Rock and that lady. I haven't seen that yet, so I don't know who's what. Mulan is like the only Asian character I can think of, and she's not even a Disney princess. All the Disney princesses are white, except for Jasmine, who's like Indian and stuff. And in the live action movie, they made her half white. I mean, come on now. And I mean, it's just like they tried to rob this from little black girls who saw themselves for the first time as like Ariel. And it's quite a shame they tried to rob that from them, because so many young black girls' eyes lit up when, they saw that Ariel was going to be black. Like Tia and Tamara Mori from Sister, they took a picture at the premiere because they was just ecstatic to go see this movie and to see a black mermaid, because they're half black and half white themselves. And Tia has spoken out about the racism they faced growing up, and before they became famous, and then while they was being famous on ABC, and how differently they was treated on ABC than all the other white stars and stuff, and how the network wanted them to straighten their hair from their natural curly hair because the American white audience don't like curly, naturally like black hair. They like it straight. And it's just kind of like, seeing that picture of those two twins together and going to the premiere was just something else. Even Melissa Joan Hart from Sabrina, on her podcasting talked about the Little Mermaid movie and how much that meant to her, and she's not even black and everything. And it's just sad that there's just a bunch of grumpy old white men on YouTube who try to take the experience away from everybody else who wants to see themselves on screen just because they want their light bills paid by YouTube, and just because they want to restore the patriarchy and everything. Happy Women's History Month, everybody. All right, well, I'll talk to you later. Bye.